The press conference for UFC 229 was just a few days ago, and it was interesting, to say the least.
Ask these nuts. I shit in bus. If you have question, ask.
No, not because of that. Because of this.
You took money from Magomedov. Hold on, you took money. You took money from Magomedov. And he posts a picture of Kadyrov on his Instagram site.
Conor kept saying these names.
Magomedov, Ali Abdelaziz, Kadyrov.
But who was he talking about? What was Conor saying? And more importantly, what was Khabib hiding? I had to know more. So I started digging. And I kept digging until I figured it out. Now I know exactly what Conor was talking about. So let me tell you about the shady men surrounding UFC champion Khabib Nurmagomedov and their dangerous ideas. Ali Abdelaziz. This dude is one of the slimiest worms in the entire fight business. You hear what Conor says right here?
My terrorist snitch.
He calls him a terrorist. Why, you ask? Well, because he fucking is. Ali Abdelaziz is a former member of American Islamic jihadist group called Muslims of America, a cell of the larger Islamic extremist group Jamaat al-Fuqra.
Jamaat al-Fuqra is an international terrorist organization with operations in the United States that predate 9/11 by more than 20 years.
Fuqra is directly responsible for more than 3,000 terrorist attacks and assassinations worldwide, including an attempted car bombing in Toronto in 1991. And this Ali guy, who manages a number of MMA fighters, including Khabib, Rafael dos Anjos, and Fabricio Verdum, he was a member of this terrorist organization. And in the early 2000s, he turned into an FBI informant until he was suspected of still working for his jihadi network. And at some point he met Magomedov, who introduced him to Khabib and a whole slew of other Russian MMA fighters.
2012, I have tape where he told me he only had 3 fighters that he managed. And now he manages at least 50 guys in the UFC and I think 100 fighters.
Then Magomedov paid him to represent those fighters and potentially gave enough money to pay a certain gym owner to let nearly all these fighters train out of his gym. But that's not all. There's more to Ali's story, and to be honest, it's just not my story to tell. It's confusing, and not all the information regarding Ali's past is well known, so if you're interested in knowing more, there's a link in the description of this video. But for now, I think we got enough to say that Ali and Magomedov are bad dudes, with dangerous connections to dangerous people. But speaking of bad dudes, there's still one more person we haven't looked at. We know who found Khabib and funded his training. We know who markets Khabib and gets him fights. We don't know why these guys have focused so strongly on getting Khabib into the spotlight. See, it can't be for money. One dude is a billionaire and on the board of the Hyperloop. The other dude has made millions by scamming organizations into overpaying for underwhelming fighters.
He was working as a matchmaker for a World Series of Fighting, which was kind of like a B or a C league compared to the UFC. He was sitting at both ends of the table. He was negotiating for his guys, and it would always seem that his guys always got the best amount of money. So, you know, for example, I talked to a fighter who made $7,000 to show and $7,000 to win against one of his fighters that made $36,000 and $36,000. And this $7,000 fighter won. So
then why are they so heavily invested in the success of Khabib? Well, that's when our third name comes into play. And this dude is worse than Magomedov and Ali combined.
The head of the Chechen Republic, Ramzan Kadyrov.
He was once accused of beating a prisoner with a shovel handle before executing him.
Ramzan Kadyrov. This dude's human rights record is fucked. He's been accused of torture, kidnapping, murder, and in 2017 he was accused of starting a prison for gays in an attempt to kill every gay in Chechnya.
Abduction and torture of gay men in the Republic. What, Mr. President, do you want to say about that?
Вот он сейчас, вот к чему он, вот, почему он приехал, вот пришел к тому, да, вопросу, это ерунда.
He has death squads. In 2006, when a former commander in his army called him a medieval tyrant, Kadyrov sent 50 policemen to kill him. In 2009, he had his former bodyguard killed in Vienna for cooperating with the New York Times. He's also been accused of overlooking the rapes, tortures, kidnapping, murders committed by his paramilitary forces. Shit, if I tried to outline every single thing this guy's been accused of doing, this video would be several hours long. So let's leave it at this. Ramzan Kadyrov is a hateful, power-hungry dictator, and Khabib is pals with him. The two are training together, laughing. But why? What would these three men, a Russian billionaire, a Middle Eastern jihadist, and a Chechen dictator,
Jamaat al-Fuqra 101.
There is a group named Jamaat al-Fuqra that has actually bought very large, in some cases 100-acre compounds.
We're going to show you a map on the screen which lists all of the compounds all across the country.
Jamaat al-Fuqra, also known as Muslims of America, is a radical jihadi cult with a history of carrying out terrorist attacks and extremist indoctrination. The group is known for having 22 of what they call Islamic villages around the United States, with Islamburg, their 70-acre compound in New York, actually being the site of guerrilla warfare training that the Clarion Project was able to get videotape of. And declassified documents show that the group has sent operatives to Pakistan over the years to get more advanced terrorist training. According to a declassified FBI report, this organization even has ties to Al-Qaeda. Despite these documented ties to Al-Qaeda and other Islamic extremist organizations, Fuqra is not listed as a foreign terrorist organization, and so they are able to operate right on American soil.